allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'll ask for a roll call.
Covert.
Here.
Crowner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lees.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. On our consent agenda, we have 9 items. I suppose I should say one of them I'm not in favor of, but that's all right. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. So we'll go into our council and staff reports. Administrator?
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple things tonight. Water tower, we got notice from IFA that the $113,400 was taken off of our loan based on those penalties that were instituted as part of that. So we got confirmation that our loan was reduced by that amount. We met, and it's on, is it on? We met on workers' comp. We're going to be seeing a savings, a reduction, 22%, amounts to a little bit over $7,200. But our experience mod came in at 0.71. The minimum is 0.78. Past 5 years, we went from 1.35 to 0.92 to 0.94 to 0.80 down to 0.71 this year. So we're seeing a nice trend with work comp. I sent out a note on the Iowa League Conference, and I was wondering if there's anybody that is interested in attending from the council or mayor.
That's September, what, 1920?
In Sioux City.
In Sioux City, Iowa.
A little bit of a drive.
Where's it at?
Sioux City?
Not at this time.
Can we get back to you tomorrow?
Yep. Sounds good. I've sent out request on the force main project. We had talked about this project in regards to engineering. We had utilized SHI for the initial study. Council had talked about, since it was such a large project, $6.5 million, doing an RFP. I've asked for about 5 or 6 examples on that. Stormwater is being done by Bolton and Mink, Mount Pleasant, Bolton and Mink. Shive had done the force main study. McClure is not currently doing anything for us. Snyder is doing the trail, had done the water tower, and the water main project that we have this coming year. If that's still the case, I'll send out RFPs. We're talking $6.5 million project, but the engineering will be 10% of that. Roughly.
What would be our second option on that? As far as,
Just picking a firm?
yeah, picking a firm, do we have a second one that you would say okay to? On the water main? Space.
I know, yeah, there's several firms that I would be very comfortable using. But I'm happy to go that route too.
It might be worth bidding to
That's why I sent out the RFP, so we can take a look at it and see what we can get.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it might be.
Well, because of the amount, we are required to do a request for proposal, right?
No, not for professional services.
No.
We are required, we'll be required to go out to bid, a formal bid process. on this project.
Because it's
For the
a
construction project,
$6
yeah.
million project.
But no, you're not required to for engineering services. You can simply select an engineering firm. Legal, any professional services, you can do that with. Several of us will not be here on the 19th, wondering if the 26th would work. If not, we'll need to probably pick a different day of the week. because there is some things that we need to do before the end of the year.
Yeah. I can do the 26th.
26,
26 works with me.
okay.
Okay, good deal. The trail, I'm sorry, question?
Oh, he's got enough people like him.
Okay.
The trail, Mike had worked with the contractor. We got about a $20,000 deduct on the seating, swapping out the cover that on the seating that they had done. You can see it on the adjacent to the bridge where they've already done that seating, that matting that they used. They swapped it out, saved about 20 grand. So, and I suppose I will congratulate Mike on his forthcoming retirement, but I will save my remainder of my words for the party that you will be having and open house. But I do appreciate all the work, the time, the effort that Mike's put in over the years, and I enjoy working with Mike. So he will be missed, but he will be around. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Well, Mike, do you have anything to say?
Not about that. Update on the trail, he's right, the seeding and matting's done. Either Friday or Monday, they'll pull forms and pour the last two pieces of the trail on the top. And they got a backfill behind some curbs and then hand seed that little area up there. And then they'll be down to the mall parking lot. That part of the trail will be finished and done. They'll be moving in, painting, pulling the concrete barriers off and getting the flow of traffic back. I would say if not by the end of next week, the week after, that should all be opened up and done. They already started forming and we're wanting to pour. I didn't talk to Sean this afternoon. There's a possibility they might start pouring a little bit of the curb down in the mall parking lot on Friday too. So they're set up and working there. So as soon as they finish up there, they ought to be starting to take off across the mall parking lot. We're going to start our painting at 4 o'clock in the morning if anybody wants to join us. But just to give everybody a heads up to pay attention out there early in the morning, our crew's going to be out there painting lines and be a lot of barrels and cones and traffic moving over so we can get the arrows and stop blocks painted. We'll be getting started on that. So just giving everybody a heads up to pay attention, give the guys room to get their work done. That's about all I got.
Thank you. Jesse?
I got two things. One, for our GTSB, it's our Governor's Traffic Safety Grant that we do every year. We have to do a multi-jurisdiction enforcement. We're doing that later on in a couple weeks with Burlington Sheriff's Department, State Patrol. So you'll see increased enforcement out one evening for that. And on the fire department side, 318 calls this year, and we did a joint training with Burlington shift 2 on Monday. We did shift 1 back in April, and we got one more shift to do in July. It went very, very well. Just working with different crews and different things out there at the training ground, so it went very well.
Thank you.
You say we've had 318 already this year?
Yeah, about the same as last year.
Now, is that county, Burlington, and us all together?
Oh yeah, it's all calls together.
So do you have a breakdown on that?
I can get it to you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, do we have anything from,
Wait, I got one more. Hey, what did we do with the car? The number one?
Well, we're kind of, we did get a low bid, and we got 3 bids. That will be in the update, but we're going to have to wait and see what we're going to do with the other unit that was hit by the drunk driver on Sunday morning. So we may see if we can we got to see what we're going to do with that vehicle.
What's that got to do with fixing the one?
Well, we may be able to use a transmission out of that car if it gets totaled.
They don't buy it back and pay us for it?
Huh?
They don't buy it back and pay you for it?
Well, they can, but if it's a good transmission in that car, we're just some options that we're looking at. So.
anything from Kelly? Pool update, maybe?
I just looked before I came over. So far, we've had 786 people at the pool, so it's pretty good considering that they were closed for 2 days because of rain, so they were really busy today, so it's going well.
How was the staffing going, Kelly? And
We did have 2 guards, immediately decided they didn't want to do that, so, but she's hired, I think, 3 more since then, so that's good.
good, how about,
I think she would hire even more if we had some apply, and hopefully some of the staff we have hired for admissions concessions will consider doing a certification.
okay. So she's going to do some more training, or
Yeah.
take them through a course so you can do that?
Hopefully, yeah.
And how's the concessions going?
I can get some totals for you.
That's all right, just maybe put in the update by Friday, so Greg's got it. But in general, it's going?
Yeah, it's going.
Thank
Just
you.
working through some kinks with deliveries and things like that. Dippin' Dots is,
There's been a few issues out there too from a public, or with kids, et cetera, trying to nip it in the butt early so it doesn't continue to be a problem throughout the season. So they've done a good job with that.
Anything from finance?
I put on the table in front of you the rates for that were being charged for the City of Burlington for the animal control that was requested the last meeting. And then, the only other thing is I've been I sent out RFPs for janitorial service, and I've heard from 4 different companies, so I meet with the last one tomorrow.
Thank you. Anything from IT? Okay, thank you. Council members,
Just want to thank Angie for getting that information, and that's per animal, not just per day. So, like, you get 6 kittens, and Chief Logan says that they're already working on making sure that that if somebody is going to pick their animal up from the shelter, that they have to pay it. Is that correct,
Yeah.
Chief Logan? So, that would help out a little bit.
Since you brought that up, Ringo, Jesse, how many animals do we normally take there in a 12-month period?
It just varies so much. A lot of times it comes back to the shelter always tells us that they're full, so they can't take any more animals in.
Okay.
So there's nothing that we can do about it when they're full. So it just kind of goes in like that, and it just depends when the neighbor gets upset with all the animals running around town and they set a trap up, and then we start taking 3, 4, 5 cats in one day. Is another issue that we run into. Or, you know, a mama and her kittens, you got a litter of kittens along with the mom, so we get charged individually for each one of those.
But if you would guess off the top of your head in the last 12 months or in 2023, just 100, 10, 1,000?
Yeah, I would say more of 100.
Okay, just to have a sense. Okay, 100 animals
Yeah.
roughly don't
Yeah.
know.
But not chickens.
Not chickens.
Don't take chickens.
And not for the full
Hey.
8 days.
Well, it was strange after we had the discussion last time with the chicken. Then Officer Latron found a chicken 2 days later outside the police department. Is that correct?
Yeah.
trying to have a vote on that, right? Andy?
I've got a couple things, but first, Mike, I just want to thank you very much for your service. I obviously got to work with you very closely doing 4th of July stuff, and even before coming to work here at the city when I was at the school, just, you always have an answer or are able to find an answer on every problem, and no matter how much time it takes or what time of day it is, you get it done. And so just thank you very much for your service.
Appreciate it.
A couple 4th of July things, full calendar is out. Raffle tickets are still available. Many groups are selling them, and we have them here at the at City Hall. And I wanted to say thanks to a couple of our biggest donors that give every year: Two Rivers Bank, Deary Brothers, Trailways, Big River Resources, and KPI Concepts. That is all. Thank you much.
Thank you.
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Just a couple things. First, thanks everybody who voted yesterday in the primaries. About 50 people of the 2,053 eligible from our precincts were there, so they represented the rest of the folks who didn't show up, so thanks for those who voted. Next, could you address, it looks like that Nexus is being occupied already. Do we have people going into those? Do you happen to know, or? I'm just curious, this place behind Bill Becker's Plaza, those apartments?
12 units were ready to move in on Saturday. Mark and I met out there with the developer on Thursday. Mark went through, graciously got the certificate of occupancy completed. The fire sprinkler company happened to be there. Otherwise, they were going to have to wait till the following week. And then we'd like to thank the city of Burlington. Larry Caston went out on after 5 p.m. on Friday and did the rental inspection so that they could get people in there and accommodate those schedules on Saturday. Typically, this does not happen, but we tried to ensure that folks had somewhere to go on Saturday. So appreciate the city of Burlington working with us as well. And that was extremely helpful.
It was the 1st of June, so I was wondering, something worked out. There was cars there, so. Well, super. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Larry.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Mike, sad to see you go, but glad you're sticking around in the area. But I do have a question. Where are we at with the I&I issue at SCC?
Well, I forgot to bring that up. I have a meeting at 9 o'clock with the Ben and then his boss, vice president of college, to go over the issue and address this and figure out the next step and how we're going to take care of that particular issue with the I&I.
And I trust you got awesome notes and photos, so our follow-on after you've retired is effective.
He's been with me on those. He was involved in the whole stormwater issue in the lake. Talked to Chris Lees today. Me and Greg just need to pick a date on a Wednesday. We don't have a meeting and be at the conservation meeting and address them and show them what we have compiled, where we're at, to move on to get everyone else involved, county supervisor and move on to the next meeting, so.
I just don't want to lose all the work you've done on that specific issue.
Greg's got it all, photos typed up, measurements. Chase has got my notes, where we're at with it.
Super, super, thank you, thanks. And the parade's coming up 4 o'clock on the 4th of July, so love to have everybody have a float in it. If you want to have a float in the parade, we got applications online. You can also stop by City Hall and grab one. And we're really flexible, so if you happen to forget to do all that and show up, usually we can figure out where to put you in the lineup. So looking forward to have a good parade turnout on the 4th of July at 4. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we don't have any community reports, so I have a presentation to make for the city, and the Lions Club is here. And this certificate reads, the certificate is presented to the West Burlington Lions Club. On behalf of the city of West Burlington and the citizens of West Burlington, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the West Burlington Lions Club for your generous donation of new picnic tables for the Pat Klein Park. Your thoughtful contribution not only enhances the beauty of our community space, but also strengthens the sense of togetherness and enjoyment among the residents and visitors. Thank you for making our park a more welcoming place for everyone to gather and create cherished memories. And I signed this, and I'd like to have a picture with everybody, so if you want to have a whole club come up, I'll present to the president, but I'd like the whole club there.
Do you want the
I'd
council?
like the city council up too.
Let's get to, let's let the mayor get.
Yeah, I'm just right in this. See how we make this arrangement here. City council on this area here.
Johnny. You're supposed to. You have to get on one knee.
Oh, there, okay. on behalf of the city of West Burlington, I want to congratulate you and thank you very much. Thank the club very much for all the work that they put into us. A lot. Thank you.
We appreciate the acknowledgement.
Thank you, appreciate you doing the parks also. Thank you.
Didn't break the lens, did you? You didn't break the lens, did you?
No, I didn't even wear the shirt because of that.
Well, good, hey, we got 2 more parks. Work on, we got more rooms. All right.
Oh, I'm gonna send out an email, but fire calls to Burlington, and 5 of those were out.
I got another one on the
So we've had 2 calls for EMS calls, and then
Hey, that reminds me, the 4th park, July 8th.
for the year so far.
Need a meeting set for July 8th for the welcome park, the follow-up meeting. For our welcome park meeting, we said we're
Oh.
gonna meet again July 8th.
What about it?
What?
What about it?
We gotta set the meeting, we can't put this, said July 8th.
Oh, just send it out, you mean?
Ditch them over there.
Till next month.
Oh, it's supposed
I
to.
text you on it.
I'll probably put him here, I'm just gonna go sit over
See you
there.
there next time. Huh?
Remember? I
Gotcha,
said, hey
gotcha,
guys, let's
gotcha.
figure this
Yeah,
out.
7,
I sent you a text about it.
committee meeting.
Thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to working on possibly another future project with the city.
Awesome.
That'd be great. Awesome.
Who's identifying it, the project? If somebody got one?
We haven't yet.
Okay, all right.
If you guys have any idea that you want some help, some volunteers,
Trail.
just let us know.
Okay.
We have a,
for grant funding to support that project, so.
yeah, we have a
Okay.
trail going through.
We got the trail, but the current parks also each could use some help, I bet. I bet Chase has got some great ideas on where we could enhance the parks.
There you go.
Okay.
Fire hydrants.
Like Chrissy,
Yes,
retirement's the best job you'll never have.
For those unaware, the Lions Club also runs the bingo every year for us at the 4th of July, and also made a nice donation this year.
And they're also donate money to the West Burlington Dare every year also, typically $100 for Dare. So we really appreciate their support to the community.
Super.
I hope we can come up with a project that they would be interested in doing, so. At this point, ask for any input on items before the city council from citizens. Okay, if not, I'll go into the public hearing. The council is holding a public hearing on the proposed budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year 2023-2024. Any public input? If not, then I will close the public hearing at this time and move on to old business. We have a consideration of a donation of a 2000 Freightliner Alex pumper truck from the city of Burlington.
Chief, do you want to just mention those 4 major items you talked to Burlington?
Yes, I did speak with Deputy Chief Toops about the needed repairs. All of them have been taken care of except for the vinyl on the driver's seat is still tore up pretty good just from the use of that seat, but he reported to me that all the other ones were taken care of.
The rusty frame?
Excuse me?
The rusty frame too?
Yeah, they went to Lexus and had that taken care of, is what he reported to me.
Does the truck come with like radios and stuff like that that we're gonna have to put in, or we're gonna have to buy them?
Nope, we'll have the radios.
Where do you get them? We have them already? Well,
And then there's also, we get through the E911 board up to $5,000 every year to help cover for radios and anything like that. So if there is something that we would have to purchase for that, in reference to that, we would get reimbursed through the E911 fund for that.
So are they asking us to keep another truck when this truck goes bad, to get another one in its place, or we have to keep it so long?
Nope.
Or any strings attached
Nope.
whatsoever?
They are looking at getting rid of this truck because they have a 3,000 gallon tanker that they're going to be taking delivery of it when they receive their tanker from the manufacturer that's making it, is when we would receive this truck. When they get that truck in service is when they would donate this truck.
Well, but that's not the question. The question
There's no
asked is,
strings
there's no
attached to
strings
it.
attached
Nope.
to it.
It's the same thing I heard from the city manager as well. No strings attached, simply donating it. And I think primary purpose from my perspective, I think the chief's perspective, is simply to have additional water supply for structure fire. If something goes wrong, we determine if we want to put the money into it or not. If costly, then we have several options for disposal of the vehicle if we need to. A lot of smaller communities will take these vehicles and rehab them and reutilize them as well. I do want to thank the city of Burlington again for the generous offer. Appreciate them thinking of us. But I guess the main reason I would recommend it is simply the additional gallons. The work has been completed. There are no strings attached. And we have room at the station. The only cost for us is essentially fuel and insurance. And use it until it breaks and then dispose of it, essentially.
So the tires are like 6 years old, 8 years old. What's a requirement there as far
Looking at
as
every,
age?
should be every 10 years. We just replaced the towers this year or last year. Replaced the tower or the ladder truck tires on that. They recommend every 10 years.
How big's the water tank on our new truck?
I believe it's 750 gallons.
I think I'm in the same place I was last time. I'm not in favor of taking it and putting a lot of money into it, but as Greg described, taking it and using it until we have to get, or until we get to that point, and then we sell it at that point in time, I think makes a lot of sense. But yeah, if we're gonna take it and put 10 grand in it immediately, I'm not really for that, but I don't hear any of us saying we're for that, so that's where I'm at.
Well, if that comes 2 years from now.
And again, we would have to bring it within the council to discuss that. And like I said, if there's anything that we decide at that time, I mean, it's nothing off of our backs of right now. If we get it, it would last 2 years. If it lasts 10 years for us, then at that time, we make that decision. Do we want to replace it or do we want to sell it? And that will be up in your hands. And either way is fine with me.
I'd say repair or sell, not necessarily replace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
At this point, I don't know the answer to that question, Johnny, because it kind of depends what I hear from Jesse on how often we use it and how important it was or not important to have. And
agreed.
I feel like I would need that data to be able to know if it's worth $1,000 part or a $20,000 part or whatever. But right now, I don't see a downside in taking it.
And I don't either. I really don't see any downsides there either.
And I concur with that, someone.
Well, then I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion?
Okay,
Support.
motion and support. All in favor of accepting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. We'll go on to new business. Consider a resolution approving a budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
We don't typically do two amendments. We're just close, and we want to ensure that we're in compliance with state code. Hoping we still come in under, but we just want to be on the safe side, that's all.
Roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Consider a quote from Burlington Trailways to repair the cab lift pump on Fire Department Rescue 1.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion?
How did you get in touch with Trailways?
Burlington Fire Department has started using them for their maintenance on their large vehicles, fire trucks, and getting our last round of that were on the consent agenda about the cost of getting our oil changes down at Trailways was very similar to Center State, and it's a local business in town here. So they're also starting to repair their passenger vehicles that the company owns. Also, they got a lead technician, certified mechanic in there, and they did give us a quote on the transmission for the unit 1 that's down. Is just a little higher on that part than what the other 2 bids we got. So that's how we learned from them that Burlington's been using them for several years now for their large vehicles.
They have a paint shop there too, don't they, for size of the buses?
Didn't know that. It's a good idea.
Any other further discussion? If not, call for a vote on this. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Well, I suppose number 3. Consider resolution hiring Chase Williams as the interim Public Works Director.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for a roll call vote.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
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 Thank you.
Don't screw up.
You have the hot seat now.
Looking forward to leading us to great things in the public works area. You will.
Discuss contracting with the West Burlington School District to provide an officer to teach public safety classes. So,
I'll kick things off. There's really 2 separate issues here that we talked about to date. One is the COPS grant, and then I think we, in past round 1, there's a round 2, to determine whether or not the city could be eligible for an SRO position. That is a separate and distinct issue. The school district lost their public safety teacher, and the city was approached to see if we wanted to work together and try and work something out. They are proposing 75-25 split on an officer for 3 to 4 hours in teaching that position. At 75-25 split, we would have additional dollars to utilize for overtime or to meet our needs. Now, we will have to try to work through that from a scheduling perspective. Certainly don't want and how to best utilize and work with our officers on that overtime. But we would have dollars to put towards overtime. Bless you. But these are separate and distinct issues. And this would be for the school year. They would be responsible for the training of the officer to be a certified teacher. I believe it takes 3 years is what they indicated. That's been essentially the discussion. I had broken out the wages prior. You've got the same information in there. I broke out it differently this time, so you had the SRO, and then you had public safety teaching position, cost share. I went out 5 years, it's really only year one. Just kept the same information as, on the above line item. So, interesting opportunity to work with the school district and meet their needs. We would have to try to work out scheduling, but we would have additional dollars, that 75%, and that's total compensation, not just wages, to utilize to help offset those costs, or excuse me, that time with other overtime. And they would be allowed, obviously, to leave if there was an emergency situation in the city, or training, et cetera, whatever it might be, but they would be certainly allowed to leave while in their teaching position to respond to emergencies within the city of Burlington, West Burlington. So that's been the discussion so far. Interesting opportunity, haven't done it before. Wanted to bring it back to council for discussion if we're looking forward to proceeding. I've been collecting some contracts from other communities that we could utilize in working with the school district. So interesting opportunity to work with the school district. So happy to answer the questions. Jesse, do you have anything to answer or anything to add?
I do not. Just kind of looking through the schedule and see what we need to do for that, you know, coverage, make sure we don't lose any coverage, that great of a coverage. So
let me get this right, I think. So they're losing a teacher so if we didn't do the teaching and we just put the police officer there, we still get the grant of 75-25?
There's two separate issues,
Right.
two separate distinct issues. So they're looking for a teacher to fulfill their public safety. 3 classes, 3 hours, 4 hours if there's a planning period requirement. We have a separate grant application for an SRO position that would extend our force by 1 officer, and that's just an additional officer. And then amongst our department, they'd go through a selection process to see who would be, and working with the school district to see who would be the SRO. They'd go through an interview process to see and lay out those responsibilities. There'd be a separate agreement on SRO for those duties and responsibilities. So we would end up with an additional officer if we got the SRO grant. And that cost breakdown is also on here as well. 5-year grant, and same split if we were to proceed with that. That grant is awarded in October, so we could consider our options at that point in time, depending on if we're successful or not.
They're still going to need a teacher, though.
Through the school year, yes.
Through the school year. And that could be a person who's not the SRO because we might not have that grant.
Correct.
So it's really an opportunity for one of our current police officers to gain their certification to teach in the public school system, then teach in our current school.
Cooperate, work the school.
Work with the school.
We do lose time, but they are willing to compensate the city and take on those additional costs. Well, they're going to be talking it at their meeting as well, but the proposal is that they would split that cost 75-25, understanding that we're losing a portion of that officer's time, but that does then provide us with funding internally that we have that we could allocate for overtime. We'll have to be careful on how we break that out. I want to look exactly on how we schedule that. We don't want to burn anybody out or anything like that. But we're also looking at some schedules. So, but interesting, unique opportunity for work with the school district and potentially then expand with an SRO program.
Does the school have any idea how many students would be taught by this police officer? Is it,
I did not hear that.
Any ideas, like 2
There's
or
3 class
25 or?
There's 3 class periods. I know there's different levels of what they're getting taught in each one. I went to Officer Carper's class last year over in BHS. He teaches their class over there, and they had approximately think 16 or 17 students in his class, and he holds several different class periods throughout the day also, like three or four over there at Burlington. So I did not make it to the school. We didn't have she never requested us to come up there until the last week of school this year, so of course we didn't have time in 1 week to get somebody up there, so we didn't get anybody up there this year. So I don't know how many kids they had. I could find out.
I'm just curious,
Yeah.
I mean, they trying to teach 2 in a grade class or 20 yet?
Yeah.
I think it's,
We could go through a lot of work for 2.
I think it's about 20-ish per class.
Okay.
I had a kid in one of those. so-
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, so probably 60 total.
Okay, okay.
So how long is the training for this officer?
It would be online at their own pace. They just got to stick with that benchmarks that they have to make, and then it's kind of the same thing that the substitute teachers, but it'll be a little bit more training than what a substitute teacher required training.
Greg, can I ask you a couple questions?
Certainly.
So obviously, we don't know about the COPS grant, but
Right.
current plan, if we went ahead with it, would be they're there 3 to 4 hours a day. We don't hire an additional officer, and we're covering with current officers, correct?
Yes,
And then-
utilizing the savings.
If we got the COPS grant, we went with the SRO, then we're talking adding,
Hiring an additional position, which would allow us to utilize a full-time SRO position in working with the school.
so at that point, we'd be SRO plus an officer there 3 or 4 hours a day, or that person's doing both?
That person would likely do both. There would not be an additional officer for that teaching.
And then obviously, the COPS grant's not a guarantee, but what's the time frame on when we would know that?
October.
When?
October?
October, okay.
And then that SRO would do the DARE teaching and all of that.
So
They do a lot of things. I mean, it's not only the teaching, they're building relationships with the students. They're there for emergency situations. They're there to deal with, frankly, criminal actions as well. I mean, there's any number of things that they're there. From my perspective, the relationships that they build, especially when they're working with the range of students that they would be working with, and especially as you do that over a period of years, that relationship that you build with the students is invaluable. And I've seen that.
I was a school
very
resource
successful.
officer for 12 years with the sheriff's department when I was there. I did Mediapolis and Danville schools. So
if we did that and 5 years from now, we don't get a re-grant, and who's responsible for that? Because he's our employee, correct?
Yes.
So,
We would either continue the program, not continue the program. If we do not continue the program, typically you can handle that often through attrition. I've not had to terminate. I've typically been able to handle it through attrition.
but if we did, then we'd be liable for the unemployment or whatever and the benefits of that.
If
we
you
had-
terminate it?
Yeah, if we terminated them.
Well,
Right.
yeah. Mhm. I've never had to terminate in doing that. Most communities that I'm
Just
typically
looking.
end up keeping their SROs, I find that they're invaluable for the community and for the school district. That said, that would certainly be a decision that we'd want to talk about with the school district, the council, and discuss the benefits that we've seen over that time period before, obviously, we had to make any decisions.
They don't want to go full SRO without the COPS grant?
Correct. They do receive additional funding with the teaching position through the state, which helps offset their costs. Not wholly, but I don't know the exact ratio, because it is a teaching position. But next steps, the school board would be meeting, we'd be putting together an agreement, working on that. Continue the SRO application process, and hopefully be successful with that, ideally. The next step, the immediate next step would be to enter into an agreement with the school district for this teaching position.
Any idea, with just the current situation, not the COPS grant, any idea on an estimated overtime we're gonna have to be paying because we're down an officer?
That's what we've been trying to, and that's what's hard to quantify. I mean, whether it's an emergency situation, we can, or we offer voluntary overtime, and which officers will take it. We certainly don't want any one officer to be, take on too much additional overtime, as well. We would
I guess
we'd
easy
try
question.
to
Are we
break
gonna
that
be looking
out
at-
over as many officers as possible.
Are we gonna be
But-
looking from a total perspective of 3 hours of overtime a day extra because of this?
No.
Not on average, no.
Okay.
But I would see us, I mean, we'd be able to, we wouldn't utilize 100% of our cost, but I would see us using.
The big
25,
coverage,
20,
the big coverage would be the
50%.
weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
And time, and
Games and stuff?
time off.
Games, typically, we get covered through the reserve officers help us during the, like, football games, basketball games, they'll come in, or the on-duty officers that are working the shifts will come in. I've never had anybody sign up or mandatory overtime for anybody to come in and work the games.
So give me 2 or 3 examples of overtime. What would
It
overtime?
would be the shift coverage of when whoever is on day shift now, if they took a vacation, we would have to have overtime to cover that shift. If it works on a 9-day rotation, our schedule works on a 9-day schedule. You work 6 days, you get 3 days off. So the time when the other officers that are working is on their days off, we will be short an officer. So there could be a chance where 3 of every 9 days, there may be a little bit, some, or a full shift that may need to be covered with overtime.
Jesse, of our current officers, do you see some of them who would want to do this teaching role?
When I put it out for, I had one officer that was interested in working as an SRO. I would probably send out another one stating that this is going to be more of the teaching portion of it at the beginning of the year, and see if we have any other officers that would be interested. I can see 1 or 2 officers, 2 probably, that would be interested in that.
Okay. If we reach an agreement with the school to do this and we have 0 officers who are kind of like, hey, can't take it on this year, would we have an obligation to
We
get
have
it
one
filled?
that is interested.
Okay, we feel confident we can,
Yes.
I don't want us to be under the obligation
no.
where nobody wants them, we got to go hire somebody from,
We have one that's interested.
and if they leave this, I guess, if we reach an agreement with the school, I don't want to put us in a position that we have to go hire outside our own police force to meet the contract. Well, if nobody on our,
We would be able to utilize internal staff. I mean, Jesse, we've got the
Okay.
ability to adjust schedules and work with staff. So
gotcha. I guess what I'm saying, I just don't want us to
we
put
would
us in that
backfill the position, obviously. Yeah, we've got flexibility with schedules.
Good, but whatever we agree with the school, I just don't want to put us in the position that we have to go outside our own workforce to meet the contract.
Correct.
That we agreed to. That's a concern I have.
And for example, with training, I guess I really hadn't thought about this aspect of it too. When a new officer comes on board, they do commit to a certain timeframe. We'll have to reimburse the city. The school may request something to that effect as well, since they will be paying for that training as
Yeah.
well. That may be an appropriate aspect of the contract that they may wish to include in there.
If we pay for you to get trained, you have to do this for at least a school year or something. Yeah, makes sense.
Or reimburse the school.
Or reimburse back to the school, yeah.
I guess I'm just not sure of the extra hours. You know, if we've got a police officer already with a dog that's kind of committed to that, and then we have an officer at the school that's kind of committed to that, I can see overtime, and then it can be said that, you know, the overtime is just as, might as well just hire an officer, and I just see a kind of going down a rabbit hole. I guess without that information, I don't know which way to go.
The canine officer works a full shift. So I don't really know that you can factor that aspect into it. They work a full shift, and they may be called in on overtime to conduct a search, or if there's another issue that they need to be that needs to be dealt with. But that officer works a full shift, the canine officer.
Right, but not patrolling as much as what the regular ones does. I mean, he does, yeah.
That's a patrol position. They may have other responsibilities from a public communication perspective. They may go meet with a group or whatever it might be, but, you know, that's a patrol position.
Well, yeah,
Canine
but
officer.
Well, I guess what I meant was, like, so they get called in 6th hour of their shift, and they may have to do.
They'd get paid overtime. They still have their normal shift that they utilize. So they're a patrol position. I wouldn't think of them as anything different than that in this equation.
I'd be fully in if we were talking about the SRO position with the cops grant. I think that makes a ton of sense for us to have an extra officer during the summer. He's there full-time in the school, and our total cost is $16,000. To me, that makes a lot of sense. So looking at the other one, obviously wish we would have had more time to do the SRO position and just done that. I don't love it, but if we could make an agreement that, hey, we've got, this is a 1-year deal, we're only signing up for this year, expecting to get the COPS grant come October, November. So as we look into next year, this is different, then I'm in.
Correct.
I don't think I want to do this forever, though.
That's my expectation.
So I guess tonight we need to discuss doing this, and
We would bring,
Open to
if
going
there's a
forward.
general consensus
Yeah.
on moving forward, we'd bring back, they would have a discussion, we'd have to bring back and work on a contract, and put those terms and conditions together to bring back before each body. So that's really the next step, but I really frankly don't want to go through all of that effort if there's not a majority that wish to proceed.
I do.
You're in favor?
I'm interested in proceeding,
Interested in
yes. I
seeing what-
like the
Okay,
tie-in.
I've got 2, 3,
I am.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, and we can decide at some later point whether we like what.
Like what's coming down the pipe.
Okay. Well, in that case, then I will move on to number 5, which is to consider a resolution authorizing a partnership with the Iowa Initiative for Sustainable Communities, a program of the University of Iowa.
I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go into. I tried to lay out the program again. I've been talking about this for, I think, since I've been here. This time around, this was the third round. Communities, it's a different program than I participated in. I had done 13 projects with another community. There's a cost associated with this one. They are looking to do some additional program with Burlington. Burlington would compensate West Burlington, and because they would prefer to contract simply with one entity. We had conversation with the program manager, trying to narrow down mainly the the planning, public affairs, and a couple of the other programs that I noted in here. Engineering is a significant piece for me. The 2 crossings, the trail, those would be discussed with the engineering professor and team closer to the semester starting. And depending on their team, but the program is also a little bit different in that these are largely master's students that are doing, getting ready to go out into the workforce. So I see the ability to offset our cost, or to put us in a position. For example, if they were able to do a trail, you basically get the entire design, but it's just you don't have engineered stamp drawings. You would have your engineer take a look at the plans and review them and stamp them. I mean, so the cost is significantly, there's a significant savings for the city. But I think there's a number, they're interested in the connectivity piece, and some of these programs overlap. They typically do an arts and culture component, placemaking that we've talked about, housing component, which we've also talked about doing outside of the this program as well. So we're starting to try to narrow that down and put that information together, but we certainly can't finalize it until closer to the school. They know what student that they're going to have in place, but you know, we could end up with 250 students working within our communities. So I think it's an excellent investment from my perspective, and I think will more than offset our costs on just a few of these projects.
Couple questions.
If we're interested in doing an art piece, they would we'll probably need to talk about that sooner rather than later, because they would likely do that over the summer.
Like next summer?
Oh, this summer.
So, because I see this start at 1 June of this year already. That's what the date says anyway.
Yeah.
So
It's a year-long program.
could the
for
date
this
be, since
semester.
we haven't approved anything or any, would the date shift so we get a full 12-month support? That's all. Like 1 July or 15 June, because it says it starts the 1st of June, which is a week ago. I guess I'm just trying to understand the timing, because if it's not going to start with students till the fall.
Well, the only component that would start it in the summer would be the art component, which is why I believe they have the June 1 after this spring semester starts. So the only component piece would potentially in the summer would be an art component in one or both communities. And so we go through the school's year. It is essentially
Yeah,
what it
okay.
does.
They're trying to
It goes
get a
through the
full school year.
So it ends in May 30th, school's out
Okay.
in May. So it has to be done before the end of the school year. They present their projects for the community. They have a presentation. There'll be a kickoff. So it's an excellent program. I encourage you to go to the website. I think a number of you already have. You can see a lot of excellent programs. The housing piece I'm really interested in as well. Connectivity, placemaking components as well. Land trust, rehab, new construction projects that we've talked about using 657A, other potential housing options as well. And I have identified several engineering projects that I told them are priorities for the community as well. And we would be meeting with the engineering team later in the summer for that. But it encompasses law, public affairs, community and regional planning, art, marketing and communications. I think I said engineering. I'm maybe missing one or two there as well, but.
Considering we started this without a motion,
Oh, yes,
I'd
sorry.
like to have a motion before we have any further discussion. So do I have a motion in this?
You so moved.
Support that.
And a motion support. Thank you.
So Greg, do we have any way of requesting or of what type of people we get? What type of
No,
students?
the university provides the students. I mean,
I
it's
know they
largely dependent
provide,
on
but do we have any
who's
way of-
available.
Yeah, I know they're providing it. Do we have any way of requesting 10 engineers instead of?
No, what we'll work to do is work with, like, engineering, for example, we'll work with the department chair, engineering department, to identify how many students they have available, what their capacity is, what they're able to work on, and you've seen the attachments and the list that we've had together over the past 3 years. There's several engineering projects in there, and maybe they can think, maybe there are other components that come in that. But safe crossings at Broadway and agency, safe crossing at Gear have been priorities. Trail design was an engineering, and they know that those are certainly priorities for us as we go forward, and those are already in the list. So
You talked earlier about Burlington joining and splitting the cost. Is that
Yes,
still
and
a possibility?
they're interested in participating as well. I have it up to 50,000 in ours. I think they're going to approve up to 25,000 in theirs. We'd have 13 to 15 programs. We may end up with more. Could be upwards of 20 programs if we can fit in some of these smaller projects, like one of those engineering projects at Broadway and Agency would be a small engineering project. So we may be able to get up to 20 rather than if we have some smaller projects like that that we could bring in and have available students for.
So who dictates who goes to Burlington or who goes to us? How does that, because if we're getting 3 engineers and we need 5, and then we're contracting half of it out with them,
Well, it's really what they're trying to accommodate students and what they have from an availability perspective, from a student perspective. And they also want to do projects that, how do I want to put it? They want to try to find projects that the students have an interest in. They typically have a student, for example, that's very interested in doing murals on the art side. They have done art components as well. The main components are public affairs and planning. And those master students that are working on that, they try to come up with different programs like that, like housing would fall under that category as well. So it just, they would be working to identify which programs and which students would match up best with the communities that they have. But I'm hoping that we would actually be able to exceed that number and take on some smaller projects as well. But they have different interests, I guess, than our list. And there is one combined list on there too that I included.
To kind of piggyback on what John's saying, I looked through their website, and some of their projects are amazing, and 70-page engineering documents with everything you'd need to go get it done and get it built. And some of them are a 2-page piece that talks about, hey, you should build something like this. And I know that we're not in full control over what we get, and that there'll be some projects maybe that we really see a lot of value out of, and some that we really don't see much value out of. And so I guess just to say, my expectation would be that we see a good return on this investment if we put it in there, that we're saving engineering money by having these plans on a few of these projects. And then my hope is that there's also things that we can go out and get grants because we have the legwork done in the beginning. So
Noted in there, the one grant that Charles City had received is $400,000 grant as part of one of their programs. Yeah, yes, with these student programs, there are always those projects, especially, I mean, there are smaller projects as well that you mentioned, but some of the programs, we will utilize the end product more than others. We may pick out component pieces that we like from a particular project. I've done that before as well. Or we may utilize the engineering that they've done, hand that over to an engineer and have them take a look at it and save some significant dollars from that perspective. But that is absolutely my goal. But there's a whole host of projects that could, and these are students, but a lot of them in this case and nowadays are master's students, law students. So these are it's a different program than when they originally started, and you had a lot more underclass students in the, BA students, BS students working in the program. Now you have a lot more master's programs, masters of public affairs, masters of community and regional planning, law, engineering, getting ready to go out into the working world. So the products that I've seen more recently are much more valuable, but there will always be components or projects that may not get as much value out of.
And I think a lot of those graduate students will be using these projects as,
Resumes.
stepping stones for a possible job, so.
if we can spend $25,000 to $50,000 and go out and get a $500,000, $600,000 grant because of it, I'm in
It's a good
favor.
thing.
We paid for it.
If you're telling me no,
we're not gonna be able to use this stuff, we're not, we're still gonna have to do the full engineering, we won't be able to use these things, then I don't see the value. But if we can use them and save funds in the future, get some good ideas, plus some extra projects on top.
I think in one of my conversations or notes that I, over time, I think one of the comments that I said, I saw this as having 200 part-time employees coming to work for the city over 2 school semesters, and
With a degree.
and then having an end product that or end products that we'll be able to utilize for any number of things, whether that be seeking grant opportunities, but we'll have a lot of the groundwork laid. Now, that's not to say we won't have additional work to do, but we'll have a lot of the groundwork that I'm simply not going to be able to do on my own. But we can take these projects and then and utilize some or all of that of the end product. So I think there's clear value in bringing it forward. And my goal will be to identify that savings and show that we had that cost savings. So.
Well, and Greg, as you mentioned, this caliber of students are one possibly in their master's programs.
Yes.
That's when we work on the projects. And those projects are getting reviewed and approved, and I'm going to say graded by professors or people who are then again as much knowledgeable in their fields, which is things we would benefit from. So it's like, wow, I think a unique perspective and expertise to our projects.
Apologize for interrupting. We need people locally too to participate and work with these students as well. And I'm committed to doing that. And if I have to do all of them, I'll do all of them. But I really think we want to get more ideas than just mine. But they'll be coming to town. There'll be a kickoff session. They'll be working with their professors. They'll be coming back at certain times. I think they said 2 hours a week was, a potential commitment for, somebody that wanted to work with one of these student groups. I mean, and, because you want to be able to answer questions, get feedback or provide feedback, have those conversations with them. They may be coming down, doing whatever work they need to do on site, working with their professors. So, yes, there is a time commitment, and I already committed to
So Greg,
others as well.
do you think we have enough of projects that we can just do this on our own and just keep all the people just so that we know that we've got the right amount of engineers and stuff? And
I tried to lay out a bunch of projects, hoping that when they identify the students that will be participating in the program, that we have projects that we can work with them on. Burlington has some as well. It's noted on Chad's document as well. Their projects largely differ from us, other than cooperation efforts. So, and I think they were looking. I think there's 3 or 4 different programs. So I mean, I really see the bulk of it coming here. And we would work out those terms based on the final breakout of projects, but no more than half. But I've been working on it for 3 years. They've been working on it for a couple months.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. Roll call, please.
Let's see, Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Browner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. It's a great idea.
Hope so. Yep. I know.
You've just doubled your workload.
Number 6, consider resolution amending the master fee schedule to include a fee for small cell.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion?
Well, I have a problem because it says be it resolved that the following fees related swimming pool rates on the West Burlington master fee schedule. I mean, we did that back in December.
The only fee that's changing is a small cell change.
You'll fix that? You're gonna write in there in place of?
Yes.
The motion is only for adding the small cell component, which is Chapter 8C, we don't have any flexibility in the fee structures unless we want to just keep our simple right-of-way permit structure, but Chapter 8C allows us to charge those additional fees for a small cell.
I
So you're
understand
talking.
that, but the resolution,
Right.
specifically says,
It's just, there's a line in there that needs to be updated to reflect small cells instead of.
It does.
opposite.
It specifically says it. Yeah.
but it's not in the resolution.
Yep.
Okay, I'll get it, I'll fix it.
So then it will say, what, Kelly?
It'll, I don't have it in front of me, but instead of water, swimming pool rates, it'll say to reflect right-of-way permits for small cell, exactly what the language is on top.
All we did is adopt Chapter 8C in case it changes.
Can we just bring this back next meeting so there's not confusion?
They're going to be
It's
coming
not-
forward pretty
It's not gonna
quick.
be a problem. It's,
The only change that's being made is a small cell component adopting Iowa Code Chapter 8C, which has the fee structure included in it, simply because if the code changes, then we don't have to change our structure as well. That's the only change being made. If you want to reflect that in your motion, you could certainly do that to make it clear.
I think
So
you,
moved.
I think you
I'll write
almost
that in
have
the
to,
motion.
because otherwise it talks about
Okay, there's,
the swimming pool rates.
so Andy has made the motion to make that
To amend it?
amendment. Yep.
What did you say about the swimming pool, Trace?
Are you gonna support, did you support it?
I haven't got a support
Johnny,
yet.
there's a screw up on the on the resolution that says we're talking about swimming pool rates.
Oh.
If you read about the fourth line down, and it was just an error. That's all, and we need to get that fixed, and that's it.
I'd take a second for that amendment to make the change.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So we have the amendment. Now, I'll call for a roll call vote on this.
Robert,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider the second reading of an ordinance amending the city code to include a new zoning district entitled R6 Recreational Vehicle Park District and establishing regulations for said district.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion on this?
I think it's good we added the parking in there.
All righty. In that case, then I'll call for a vote on this.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Motion carries. We now have number 8, considering a second reading of the ordinance amending the official zoning map to establish the boundary lines for the new R6 recreational vehicle RV park district.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support.
Maybe we better not do this. I'm just kidding.
Let's see. Call for a,
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Gilbert,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
motion carries. And that's the completion of our new business. Do we have any citizen inquiries on things that should be brought to the city council? If not, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.